They told Lieutenant Vera Calloway that reading body language was guesswork dressed up as intelligence work, that real analysts relied on signals intercepts and satellite imagery, not watching people fidget during interrogations. Her supervisor at the Joint Intelligence Center said she was wasting time learning behavioral analysis when she should have been focused on data patterns. But in a basement interrogation room in Kabul, when a Taliban commander sat silent and smiling across from 3 experienced agents, Vera would notice one tiny facial expression that unraveled an attack. Plan and proved that the most dangerous intelligence often came from the things people could not control. Vera Calloway was 29 when she joined the intelligence corps as a strategic analyst. She had sharp features, brown eyes that seemed to absorb everything, and a habit of staying quiet in meetings until she had something worth saying. Most people thought she was shy. She was not shy. She was just careful about wasting words. She grew up in Edinburgh, where her father was a psychologist specializing in non-verbal communication, and her mother worked as a sign language interpreter. Their home was a place where everyone noticed things most people missed. The tension in someone's shoulders, the slight tightening around the eyes that meant discomfort, the difference between a genuine smile and one that never reached the upper face. Vera's father, Thomas, had worked with police interviewing suspects and witnesses. He taught Vera from an early age that people lied with their words constantly, but their bodies told the truth. A hand touching the neck during stress, feet pointed toward exits when someone wanted to leave, micro-expressions that flashed across faces too quickly to fake. By the time Vera was 16, she could watch a conversation across a restaurant and tell you who was lying, who was uncomfortable, and who was pretending to care. She studied psychology at university, then joined the army because she wanted to use her skills somewhere that mattered. She was stationed at the Joint Intelligence Center in Northwood, analyzing reports and briefing senior officers. The work was important but felt distant. She wanted to be closer to the source. If these stories resonate with you, please subscribe. We share the experiences of veterans whose unique skills changed outcomes in ways no one expected. Vera's father had told her countless times that people underestimated behavioral analysis because it looked like magic when it was actually rigorous observation. He had trained with experts who could detect deception with accuracy rates above 70% just by watching facial muscles. Thomas taught Vera the facial action coding system, a method that catalogued every possible human facial movement. He showed her how fear looked different from anger, how genuine surprise involved the entire face, while fake surprise only engaged the mouth and eyebrows. He made her watch hours of recorded interrogations, pausing to point out the moments when someone was about to lie or break. Vera absorbed it all. She practiced constantly, watching people on trains, in cafes, during conversations. She learned that most people broadcast their intentions if you knew what to look for. But when she tried to apply these skills in the military, she met resistance. Intelligence work in the army relied heavily on technical sources. Intercepted communications, satellite imagery, signals analysis. Behavioral analysis was seen as soft intelligence, unreliable, too subjective. When Vera suggested using behavioral observation during interrogations, her supervisor told her they had procedures that worked fine without adding psychological guesswork. Vera stopped suggesting it. She did her assigned work, wrote her reports, and kept her observations to herself. But she never stopped watching people, and she never stopped seeing the things they were trying to hide. The KK. Deployment orders came in March. The intelligence corps needed analysts forward deployed to Afghanistan to support interrogation teams working with detainees. Vera volunteered immediately. Her supervisor, Major Colin Brentwood, approved the deployment but made his expectations clear. She was there to document interrogations, prepare briefings, and provide analytical support, not to interfere with the interrogators who had years of experience. Vera arrived at Bagram Airfield and was assigned to a small intelligence cell working out of a fortified compound. The interrogation team consisted of 3 experienced agents: Captain Simon Kerr, who had spent 6 years working intelligence in Northern Ireland; Staff Sergeant Amanda Price, who specialized in tactical questioning; and a contractor named David Marsh, who had worked with various agencies for over a decade, They were professional and effective. They knew interrogation techniques, how to build rapport, when to apply pressure, but they relied almost entirely on what detainees said. They did not watch how they said it. Vera sat in on interrogations as the note-taker, documenting statements and preparing transcripts. During her first week, she noticed patterns the interrogators missed. A detainee who touched his throat repeatedly when discussing certain locations. Another who showed genuine surprise when presented with evidence, suggesting he truly did not know about certain operations. A third who smiled when describing civilian casualties in a way that indicated pride, not regret. She mentioned these observations to Kerr after one session. He listened politely, thanked her for her input and continued using his standard approach. Price was more direct. She told Vera that interrogation was about building rapport and asking the right questions, not reading body language like some sort of mind reader. Vera stopped offering observations, but she kept watching. Vera spent her evenings in her quarters, reviewing recordings of interrogations when they were available. She saw so much that the interrogators missed, not because they were incompetent, but because they had been trained to listen, not to watch. She thought about her father's work. He had helped solve cases by identifying when witnesses were lying or when suspects were concealing information. His techniques were proven, validated by research. But in the military intelligence world, those techniques were dismissed as unreliable. Vera understood the skepticism. Behavioral analysis was not perfect. You could not use it as sole evidence. But combined with other intelligence, it was powerful. It told you where to push, when someone was close to breaking, when they were lying about specific details even if the overall story was true. She wrote long emails to her father describing her frustration. He wrote back with patience and reminded her that people needed to see results before they would trust something new. He told her to wait for the right moment, to demonstrate her skills when it mattered most. Vera just needed that moment to arrive. The moment came 6 weeks into her deployment. Intelligence had captured a mid-level Taliban commander named Hamid Azizi during a raid in Kabul. Initial interrogations yielded nothing useful. Azizi was experienced, disciplined, and clearly trained to resist questioning. He gave his name, confirmed basic details, and said nothing else. But intelligence intercepts suggested Azizi knew about an imminent attack on a NATO convoy route. The attack would involve significant casualties. They had maybe 48 hours to extract information before the window closed. Kerr, Price, and Marsh took turns interrogating Azizi over 2 days. They tried building rapport, offering incentives, applying pressure through legal means. Nothing worked. Azizi sat calmly, answered when required, and revealed nothing operational. Vera watched every session. She noticed things immediately. Azizi's baseline behavior was calm and controlled, but when certain topics came up, his behavior changed in subtle ways. When they asked about routes near Jalalabad, his eyes briefly tracked left, suggesting recall of actual events rather than construction of lies. When they mentioned specific dates, a micro-expression of fear flashed across his face for less than a second. After the 4th unsuccessful interrogation, Kerr sat in the analysis room looking exhausted. Marsh said Azizi was professionally trained and they were not going to break him in time. Price suggested they focus on other intelligence sources. Vera spoke up. She said Azizi knew something about Jalalabad and that he was afraid of a specific date they had mentioned, November 7th. She said his nonverbal responses indicated he was most vulnerable when discussing civilian casualties, suggesting that might be a lever. Kerr looked at her with tired frustration. He asked how she could possibly know that from watching someone sit silently. Vera explained the micro-expressions, the eye movements, the baseline shifts. Kerr listened, then said respectfully that they did not have time for theories. Vera made a decision. She asked for one session with Azizi, 30 minutes. If she got nothing, they could go back to standard approaches. Marsh laughed. Price looked doubtful. But Kerr, desperate and out of options, agreed. Vera sat across from Azizi the next morning. Kerr, Price, and Marsh watched from an adjacent room through one-way glass. Azizi looked at Vera with the same calm expression he had shown everyone else. A slight smile. Controlled breathing. Complete composure. Vera did not ask questions immediately. She just watched him. She studied his baseline. Then she started talking. She said she knew he was afraid of what would happen on November 7th. Azizi's eyes widened microscopically for a fraction of a second. Genuine surprise. He had not expected her to know the specific date. She continued. She said she knew the attack involved the route near Jalalabad, because when that location was mentioned, he had recalled specific memories. His eye movement had indicated factual recall, not fabrication. Azizi's smile faltered for just a moment. Then Vera did something the other interrogators had not done. She talked about civilian casualties. She said she knew that part of the plan bothered him. She had seen his discomfort when it was discussed before, the subtle tension in his jaw, the way his hands moved slightly, as if wanting to gesture but stopping himself. She told him that whatever was planned would kill civilians. Children most likely, because school buses use that route. She said she knew he did not want that outcome, because his physiological responses indicated moral conflict. Azizi's composure cracked. His breathing changed. His hands moved to his lap, a self-comforting gesture indicating stress. He looked away, another sign of internal conflict. Vera pressed carefully. She said that preventing civilian deaths did not mean betraying his cause. It meant avoiding unnecessary tragedy. She watched his face closely, seeing the micro-expressions that indicated she was reaching him. Then Azizi spoke. He said the attack was planned for the morning of November 7th. 3 roadside bombs along the Jalalabad road, timed for the NATO convoy, but positioned where civilian traffic would also be present. He gave specific locations, methods, and the names of 2 individuals coordinating the attack. The room went silent. In the observation area, Kerr stood frozen. Marsh was staring at the glass in disbelief. Vera thanked Azizi quietly and ended the session. She walked out to find Kerr waiting. His expression completely changed. The intelligence Vera extracted was verified within hours. Explosive ordnance disposal teams found and disabled 2 of the 3 devices, exactly where Azizi had described. The 3rd had not been placed yet, and the individuals he named were arrested before they could complete the operation. The NATO convoy used that route the next day without incident. Casualty estimates suggested that Azizi's information had prevented at least 30 deaths, including civilian casualties. Kerr found Vera that evening and asked her to explain exactly what she had done. She walked him through the behavioral analysis, the micro-expressions, the baseline shifts. He listened carefully, then asked if she could train the team. Over the following months, Vera taught the interrogators how to watch, not just listen. She showed them what to look for, how to recognize deception, how to identify emotional leverage points. The intelligence they extracted improved dramatically. Word spread to other intelligence units. Vera was requested for high-value interrogations across the theater. She developed a reputation as the analyst who could see what people were hiding. Some called it a gift. Vera called it observation. Major Brentwood, her original supervisor, flew out to Afghanistan to see her work firsthand. After watching her conduct an interrogation, he quietly admitted he had been wrong to dismiss behavioral analysis. He recommended her for a commendation and pushed for behavioral training to be integrated into standard intelligence procedures. Vera completed her deployment and returned to the UK with a new role developing: behavioral analysis training for the intelligence corps. She wrote manuals, taught courses, and worked with psychologists to validate and improve techniques. She eventually left the military and now works as a consultant training law enforcement and security services in behavioral observation. Her father, retired now, sometimes assists with her courses. He tells students that his daughter proved something he always believed, that the most valuable intelligence often comes from what people do not say, from the expressions they cannot control, from the truth their bodies tell even when their words lie. Vera keeps a photograph from Afghanistan on her desk. It shows the Jalalabad road, empty and quiet under a clear sky. No convoy, no explosion, no casualties. Just a road where something terrible did not happen, because someone knew how to watch faces and understood that the smallest expression could reveal the biggest truth.